Takes the shotgun snap, the throw, dumps it to Etienne out in the flat, catches it, crosses the 50 into Ohio State territory across the 40.
With the first pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Trevor Lawrence, quarterback, Clemson. With the 25th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Travis Etienne, running back, Clemson.
A new era in Jacksonville begins.
Our coverage of the 2021 NFL Draft on Jaguars.com continues. Today presented by Bono's Pit Barbecue. Welcome in to the Jaguars NFL Draft Preview Day 2. JP Shadrick with full team coverage. John Ozier alongside, and Bucky Brooks out in Los Angeles, California. We'll recap the day's activity around TIAA Bank Field and then get you set for what's going to happen tonight. And who knows what's going to happen tonight. We do know there are 3 picks on the docket right now. We'll see if Trader Trent shows up or they just take the picks. We'll get to that coming up in just a little bit. But quickly, let's start off with general thoughts about the pair of picks. Lawrence and Etienne both in the building today, Bucky, and had their press conference, their first appearance here in Jacksonville. And I think they were impressive in that showing here in town.
Yeah, listening to the press, I was impressed with both guys. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence is impressive in his own right, franchise quarterback. We expect him to say the right things. But I thought it was interesting how he and Travis Etienne were in lockstep with their beliefs on a bunch of different things. A lot of it, they just made it about coming to work and working. And, Etienne's kind of slipped and talked about owning it and doing those things to make sure that they become really good players. And I think it was interesting that they didn't have any presumption of what their roles were going to be or those things. Now, some of that can be coach speak in terms of, hey, make sure you don't say anything that becomes a big headline or whatever. But to me, it felt like it was very genuine in terms of, hey, let's just go to work. We're going to go to work like we've always done, and good things are going to happen because we're worker bees.
John, what was your initial impression after the press conferences today?
Well, you saw the future, and the future is bright. And what I mean by bright is both these kids are clearly high character, as Bucky alluded to before the show this afternoon. High character guys who have won a lot, who have played a lot of football at a high level. I assume that these would have been the picks. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence would have been the pick. But I assume this combination would have made sense in 4 years too. But when you're starting off the program, and I think Urban talked about it during the press conference yesterday, these two guys will be in the locker room. They will be around. They will be leaders of their position groups and leaders of the team at a very young age. It's apparent that they will set the tone, and that the GM and the head coach very much like the tone that they'll set for the franchise. That feels like a fit, considering it's the dawn of a new era.
So let's hear from Trevor Lawrence today. We talked about it on earlier shows leading up to the draft, and of course, again, last night. He was a winner in high school. He was a winner in college, of course, and with that comes high expectations in both places. How does he handle the expectations, especially in big moments on the field?
I think anyone that's a true competitor kind of thrives off of that and loves it. That's when it's fun, when it's, I guess that last moment, whatever, it all comes down to one point. It's kind of like that's what you play for. So I've always loved that. Ever since I've played, it's always been fun. I always love to compete.
So we know about his numbers, his record in college, and everything he did there, the national championship, and the Heisman Trophy runner-up this past year. The national championship was in his freshman season. But Bucky, on the field, the competitive nature is something that you just kind of have. I don't know if you can really grow into that, right? I mean, that's something that's just born into him and has been just repped over and over and over again. And success does help that.
Yeah, success certainly helps that. But if you're a competitor, you want to compete in all things. Dominoes, checkers, cards, playing on the football field, all those things. If there's a score, you want to be on the right side of the score. Trevor Lawrence gets that. And for so long, we talk about the Jaguars and the underdog mentality and the number of double-digit losing seasons that have existed over the last decade. Well, you heard Urban Meyer talk about it. You've heard Trevor Lawrence and those guys talk about it. Winning right now is really important for this franchise. It's not about a 3, 4, or 5-year plan. It's about stacking wins immediately. And so there's an urgency to get this thing turned around right away. You can feel it from the coach, but I think you also sense it in the players, first with Trevor Lawrence, and then later when we talk about Travis Etienne. And
then, John, of course, between the lines, he's got everything you want as a quarterback. Above the shoulders, in the shoulders themselves, even the one that was surgically repaired, he said, is above schedule. So all of that is green-lighted and good to go.
Yeah, I guess when you analyze and talk about a guy as much as we've talked about Trevor Lawrence over the last 4 months and nationally 2 years, I asked Bucky about the intangibles before the show today, and then we're talking about the stats. And then when he walked in today, your only thought is, well, he's tall. Like, he is a large human, and he's the prototype for the position. And when you look at how tall he is, it sort of belies how he really plays, which is this kid is 6'6", and you turn on the TV and he's scoring on 60-yard touchdown runs. This is a freak of an athlete at the quarterback position. And I think when we've talked about intangibles so much and all of the things he'll mean for the franchise, maybe we haven't talked about the specifics of just how talented this kid is.
Yeah, between the lines, Bucky, it's strong.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, JP, I do believe that's one of the things that has been we've kind of bypassed, right? We talk so much about the leadership ability and what he brings to the table and the fact that he's always been a winner that sometimes we neglect to talk about how special he is. The comparison that I've made for him is Justin Herbert plus. We saw the Offensive Rookie of the Year last year take the lead by storm. Big players, similar dimensions as Trevor. But I think Trevor is even more electric in terms of just his style of play. Justin Herbert is kind of a guy that kind of clocks in, clocks out, does his work, and is really, really quiet without fanfare. I think Trevor has a little more dog in his game and a little more bite because you see his interactions not only with his teammates but with the opposition. He is not scared. He's not afraid. He will not back down, even in that little clip there. He is not afraid. And so I think when he gets his opportunity to play and as they continue to build this team up offensively and defensively, I think you will see him put his own stamp and imprint on this team and the way they play, because I think this is going to be a very gutsy and gritty team because the best players are gutsy and gritty.
Bucky, does it concern you at all as an evaluator that he's been in so many one-sided games in his favor in college? You talk about the dog and the competitor. Hasn't had to pull out a whole lot of game. It's not his fault, but does he have to prove that, or is that a thing that you can kind of see on tape?
No, I think we actually had the opportunity to see him deal with that. National championship game his freshman year when he came, and he delivered. They won the national title. The next year they play Ohio State and LSU in the college football playoff. Not perfect games for him. He had to fight and scratch and claw. The Ohio State game, he put the offense on his back and led Clemson to a win. Then came back LSU, they were overmatched. But what I think we saw in that game, we saw some toughness, we saw some grit, we saw how he handled adversity. Those things mattered. And then this year, they didn't have the same kind of team. They fell short, lost to Ohio State. He didn't have the same weapons around him that he had previously, but he kept fighting and scratching and clawing. The main thing that you want to see is with your quarterback, can he give you hope? If we get the ball back, Trevor Lawrence is going to take the team down the field. If you get that sense from your franchise quarterback, you have the right guy. And right now, I'll say that the Jaguars, we have the right guy.
Let's get the Clemson perspective on Trevor Lawrence. And Don Munson is the radio play-by-play voice for the Clemson Tigers. And we caught up earlier today. His leadership off the field in a year unlike any other said everything about who Lawrence is away from the game.
I think that this past summer for Trevor was of immense importance to be where he is today as the number one overall pick in the draft, because he grew up as a young man is what he did. He realized the platform that he had. He realized the significance that he had in the college game. He realizes that I think the influence that he can have in a community. If you're not in Jacksonville and you're not excited about that, just that one aspect that he will bring to this franchise, let me tell you right now, he's already made your franchise way better without ever playing it down. I always love to use the term, do you wash other people's feet? Trevor Lawrence knows how to wash other people's feet, no matter the age, no matter the race or the creed.
Don Munson, the radio voice of the Clemson Tigers. We'll hear more from him in the coming days ahead on both ETN and Trevor Lawrence. So it tells you a lot. And today, if we're looking on the screen right now, there was a group of school kids outside waiting on him, Bucky, to get here. And, part of the community. He wants to be involved and do a lot of things outside of the building. That's huge for the city of Jacksonville.
Yeah, that's absolutely huge. And to go back to listen to Munson's words about Trevor, I agree with him. To me, Trevor Lawrence's greatest qualities came out over last summer when he became a leader, not only for his team, but in the community. When he stepped out, and even he addressed it today in the press conference, he talked about being able to relate and be empathetic towards teammates who aren't necessarily like him, that didn't come from the background, that don't look like him. I think that is huge. Leadership is arguably the most important quality that your franchise quarterback must have. He must be able to walk in the locker room and connect different sections of the locker room and get everybody moving in the same direction. Trevor Lawrence has that ability. And we can say this, he's a dude, but I think when Trevor Lawrence walks in the locker room, the veteran players, the Miles Jacks, the Joe Schoberts, those other guys recognize the special qualities that he is because they've seen him on the big stage. They've been around him. They've listened to the words. And I don't think he's going to come in as based by how he's come in this far. He's not going to be the big-time guy. He's not going to be the guy that comes in with the entourage and all that other stuff. I really believe that Trevor Lawrence is going to go to work, and I think that's going to be the endearing quality that allows guys to follow him.
This is the Jaguars NFL Draft Preview Day 2, presented by Bono's Pit Barbecue. JP Shadrick, John Ogier, Bucky Brooks. Let's move along now to the 25th overall draft pick. Lawrence's teammate at Clemson, running back Travis Etienne, the all-time rushing leader in the Atlantic Coast Conference. He worked the last year or so on becoming a more complete back, and we heard from Etienne in the press conference today about his pass-catching ability and how he got better.
It was very important, especially where the position is headed for running backs. You want to be a third every down back, 3-down back, be out there on third down. So you can get the little dump off that turns to 10, 20-yard gains. And now I feel as if my transition, it just really was amazing to have Trev. He's here again, so we kind of just worked on that every day after practice. Got on a jug machine, just really like we have owned it. We owned it. We wanted to be better, so we got in there and just worked after practice, and you see it happen.
Quick learner, right here.
Great moment in the press conference today. Travis Etienne following the lead of Urban Meyer. Good idea, and the owner noticed. And you know what, Bucky, this guy has dynamic playmaking ability and showed it over a number of years before last season, and then had that the idea to become a more complete back, and I think that has fared him well in the last year.
Absolutely. And when we think about the game, your running backs need to be 3-down backs where they can run it between the tackles, get outside, but also impact the passing game. Travis Etienne has that ability. We saw him this year sometimes move out wide and run isolated routes like a wide receiver. The best thing that he does, though, in terms of catching the ball out the backfield, swing passes and screens. His ability to make things happen in the open field with that speed is a game changer. The Jaguars' screen game should be an A-plus part of the offense. To be able to slow him down and do those things. When I make the comparison between Etienne and Jamal Charles, it's because I can see his game evolving to the point where it reminds us of Jamal Charles when Jamal Charles was in his prime. If he gets anywhere near that, you're talking about a bell cow running back that can deliver a ton of big plays.
What do you like about Travis Etienne, John?
Speed, which I've said over and over again since the pick. They knew they had to have more big plays, and that's why he's here. In addition to that, as Urban Meyer said on the podium today, not just speed with him, but the matchup problems that he presents. Etienne said he worked on becoming a better receiver as a senior. Well, that work paid off because it's the reason he was a first-round pick in this league right now. He brings that to the table. It's the reason he's in Jacksonville because Urban Meyer clearly believes that he's going to create matchup problems for an offense that didn't create enough of those last year.
78 career touchdowns. That's a lot of
46 games he had a touchdown.
It's a lot of pay dirt in his career. John.
Almost every game he lined up, he scored a touchdown.
Most in NCAA history.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
They'll take that, right?
I think so. There's been enough of that around here. How about adding some more of that? Good idea. Let's get the Clemson perspective on Travis Etienne now from Eric McLean. He's an analyst on ACC Network and ESPN. And how will Etienne fit in the NFL?
He is a guy that is so committed to being the best version of himself, whatever the Jaguars ask. I mean, if it's gain a little bit of weight, if it's get bigger here, work on this, he's going to do it, and he's going to do it very quickly and be very dedicated. So when you look at his game, you talk about what is the best piece. You know, it's got to be just he's a home run waiting to happen. You know, he came on my podcast. We discussed that. That's what I asked him. I said, if I'm an NFL GM, why am I drafting you? And then that's what he said. You know, I am a touchdown waiting to happen. And I think it's true. I mean, the guy scored 78 touchdowns in his career. The ACC leader was truly remarkable to watch. But catching the ball out of the backfield, that's a close second.
Touchdown waiting to happen. Yeah, that sounds pretty good to me.
Don't wait.
More from Eric McLean coming up in the coming days as well. Good stuff from him there. So, it's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes when you're looking at a draft, you figure out as a team you're not putting the ball in the end zone enough. Etienne puts the ball in the end zone, and that's why they draft.
Let's take a look at day 2 of the NFL draft. Yes, there are 2 rounds tonight coming up in about 10 minutes when the second round begins. The Jaguars will have the opening pick in the second round and the 45th overall selection, then the 65th pick in the third round. So 3 on the docket right now. We'll see. There's so many options out there. Bucky, where are you leaning for 33 especially, and then maybe 45?
Defensive tackle. Christian Barmore is sitting right there. You can take him, plug him into the middle of the defense, into your presence. We talked about being strong right down the middle. Urban has talked about needing to make sure that we had beef on the interior. Christian Barmore is there. To me, it makes sense. I know if there's another option, we can talk about Trevor Lawrence, but if I'm making the pick, I want the big guy on the inside who has some pass rush ability.
Johnny O.
Yes, yeah. I guess I come from the school of thought that for the big guys, if they last past the top 15 or 20, then a lot of times I worry about taking them late in the first and early in the second because why did they slip? You know, the same reasons you didn't take this guy at 25, maybe that causes you to, pause a little bit at 33. Feels to me like wide receiver somewhere in the secondary, maybe Merrick, maybe a nickel corner, something like that. Still feels like where the value might be between 25 and 33, although wouldn't shock me if Bucky's right.
That's totally possible. How busy is the phone line in there, you think, Bucky, in that draft room down the hall from here for 33?
Oh, I think it's probably been busy the entire day because normally the first 5 or 6 picks in the second round are the sweet spot. People want to get into that mix because there were some first-round talents that fell out that are still available. But if I'm the Jaguars, man, I'm sticking and picking. I'm trying to find the best player that I can find right now that can give me an immediate return on the investment. I can sit here and say the big guy, but there are a number of directions that the Jags can go. The main thing is just get a good player. Just keep stacking good players on top of good players. That's how you overhaul the roster. They do that, they have a chance.
Well, there you have it for the Jaguars NFL Draft Preview Day 2. We'll be live with immediate reaction after the Jaguars pick in round 2. The second pick of the second round will be live then after 45 overall with analysis of each. We'll have press conferences and all the rest of the coverage on Jaguars.com. For John Ozier, Bucky Brooks, and our entire crew, I'm JP Shadrick. Enjoy night 2 of the NFL Draft. Our coverage today presented by Bono's Pit Barbecue.